The side-by-side scene. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife, Brooke. Let me get out of the way. There she is. So beautiful. And now on to our topic. The side-by-side scene. Today I want to talk about the side-by-side scene, and what I mean by that is any scene where two characters are staged side-by-side. Sitting in a car, sitting on a bench, walking side by side, etc. These scenes are very common in television and film, as well as life, so you've likely already auditioned for a plethora of these in your career. And I want to frame this discussion from the standpoint of self-tapes, because that's when actors tend to ignore a key ingredient of why these scenes work, of why their writer wrote them to begin with. Oftentimes when an actor comes in to get taped and they have a side-by-side scene, let's just say, for example, a car scene where they're the driver, they get to their mark, they square their shoulders up to the reader, me, and they do the first take, and after that, they inevitably turn to me and I ask them, so what'd you think? And they said, I don't know, it felt okay, it felt like maybe something was missing. What do you think, Matt? And if they open the door for feedback, I will say one thing to them. Why don't you turn 45 degrees and do the scene again, so that this becomes your windshield and the reader, me, becomes the passenger. And 100% of the time, 100% of the time, after that next take, that actor will inevitably say, wow, that felt so much better. It was so natural. That's weird. And I literally just changed their position, didn't give them any acting notes whatsoever. Surprising? No, not to me, and I'll tell you why. Somewhere along my life's journey, I was given a great piece of advice, and that is that if you're going to have a difficult discussion with someone, go for a walk. And if you think about it intuitively, that makes sense. But why? Well, if we're going to talk about some deep, vulnerable things, eye contact becomes harder. So, walking side by side affords me an excuse to keep my eyes forward without having to constantly check in and make eye contact with you. Additionally, during tough conversations, or really all conversations, a lot of people have trouble with silence. You feel a need to respond quickly during a face-to-face discussion because you don't want the other person jumping to conclusions that you're hesitating for some reason. Or while they're pondering an answer in silence, you might try to finish their thought for them or otherwise just break that uncomfortable silent moment. Feel it? But during a walk, silence feels more natural. You have nature to look at, pine cones to avoid, and neighbors to wave at. Hey, Tom. There's nobody there. And these concepts extend to other side-by-side conversations like sitting on a bench or driving a car. In short, these scenes in life afford both people the ability to have private moments internally as they are staring out at the world in front of them while simultaneously being engaged with the person they're talking to. This is a not-so-subtle difference than the face-to-face conversation. For the audience, this can be such a rich experience to watch these types of scenes because one or both characters are giving their subtext directly to the audience while the other character in the scene might be oblivious to it. And the audience loves to be one step ahead of at least one character in the scene. And so that brings me back to auditioning for these types of scenes. If you abandon this staging for simplicity, understandable, you hinder your own ability to explore the multiple layers of what is happening in the scene and what your character might be feeling. Don't believe me? Try it. The next time you have a side-by-side audition, first tape a take where you're looking directly at the reader, squared up, and then do a take where you turn 45 degrees and engage them in a more natural side-by-side way. And watch the layers magically appear. Now, I must add a corollary right now, which is that this sort of trick does not replace your usual training or your usual prep for a scene. But I don't know about you, but I never had an acting teacher teach me this. I learned it through trial and error, combined with my love for psychology, science, and everything else about the human condition. I think some or most teachers might say that this is too external or it's outside-in acting, and I get it. However, it's no secret that the connection between our emotions and our physicality is a two-way street. In other words, if you do the internal emotional work for your character, it will manifest physically. Fun fact, even people who are born blind do the victory pose after winning a race or having some other accomplishment. And that's proof that that internal emotion of victory will manifest itself pretty much the same way across cultures and all humans physically. But your physicality can also inform your emotions. Science has proven that if you stand in the victory pose for 2 minutes or more, you will actually feel more confident after that 2 minutes. Try it at your next audition. Seriously. Or think about this. Have you ever cried in this pose? If you did, it was probably because you had put everything you had into that athletic achievement. And I bet shortly after this pose, you broke down into a hunched over, collapsed physicality. In short, you shouldn't rely on this outside-in acting. No, not at all. But you can do yourself some favors by putting yourself in the most conducive position to support all of that internal work you've already done. That means not just your own physicality and the posture and the way you position yourself, but also in how you position yourself relative to that reader. I'm sure there are some veteran actors and teachers who are already furiously typing their rebuttals in the comments. Great. I want to hear your opposing views. Or if you try my side-by-side challenge, let me know how it goes. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.